Hi everyone, today we're making Pennsylvania Dutch chocolate kisses from a 1960s cookbook. Today we are going to be making a recipe for chocolate kisses from this 1960s cookbook. I just realized this doesn't have anything in front anyway, so I need to turn around. But anyways, it's called Eat Yourself Full from the 1960s, and it is a cookbook full of Pennsylvania Dutch recipes. So for today's recipe, we're going to need 6 egg whites beaten until very stiff, 4 cups of sugar, 3 cups of ground nuts. It suggested black walnuts. I used English walnuts and a little bit of pecans, a teaspoon of vanilla, and lastly 3 tablespoons of either cocoa or ground chocolate. So to start, we are going to mix our cocoa with the sugar. Mixing the cocoa with the sugar helps to get rid of any cocoa lumps, and it helps so that we don't have to mix the egg whites quite as much when it's time to fold in the sugar. So now I'm going to start folding in the sugar gradually. Just kind of sprinkle it on top and then fold it in. Alright, now that this is well combined, we're going to carefully fold in the ground nuts. This part is a bit heavier, so I'm going to go a little bit slower with this. And I'm kind of crumbling them up as I go because the walnuts are very oily, so they kind of clumped together a little bit. If you're using just pecans, it would be pretty dry, and so you wouldn't have to worry about this part. Alright, now we're going to add the vanilla. Now I have a cookie sheet with a sheet of parchment paper. The recipe didn't call for that, but I just like using parchment paper, and a teaspoon, and I'm going to drop teaspoonfuls of this mixture onto the tray. It didn't say how far to space them. But I've made meringues and things, and so I'm kind of just gonna guess at this. So it looks like I can get about 5 in a row. And let me see how many rows I can make. I think you could also put these in a piping bag, and as long as you're careful not to deflate them too much, I think that you can make some really pretty piped ones. I might actually try that for another try, because it says that it makes about 4 to 5 dozen. I have the oven preheating to 250 degrees. This recipe did not say how long to cook them for. It just said until they move around freely on the pan. But the other recipe said about an hour. So I'm assuming that these will take a similar amount of time. So I was able to get 42 to fit on this pan. Now I'm going to put these in the oven and do the same with all the rest of the batter. They're done. They are very glossy, at least this batch was. They were definitely too close. I put them way too close together. But the third tray did not. They ended up taking about an hour and 15 minutes to cook. And some of them a little bit longer, but they're hard now. This one's like a heart. Look at that. So cute. And it made 110. So a bit over 8 dozen. And the recipe said 4 to 5 dozen. But anyway, I have this ginormous bowl of them. And these. They smell a little bit interesting. They don't smell bad, but they smell almost like a packaged cookie. And that sounds funny to say, but that's what I think they smell like. My sister thought it smelled like peanut butter. My other sister said that it smelled like donuts. But let's try one. They're completely cooled. It's kind of cool because they're a bit hollow. You taste the chocolate right away. But then they're pretty sweet and it doesn't have much cocoa, so it's only like right at first. And then you start tasting the walnut pretty strongly. And they're really yummy. They're a little bit sweet for my liking, but they are good. One tip is they will be very delicate when they're done, because as you can see, that has like a big air pocket in there. So you want to be very careful not to touch the tops, because that will just crush them. Kind of push on the side of the cookie to see if they're done. And like I said, mine took about an hour and 15 minutes, some of them an hour and a half. That was because they were crowded too close. You know what? Oops. I was going to see if maybe one of those were softer, because they're really soft last night, but they're not. It's just as crunchy. It's these ones. They are very similar to just a meringue, but they have a little more body to them because of the nuts. It makes them not quite so soft and chewy. It still has this like softer chewy layer on the inside, and the outside's really crispy, but they're not quite as light and fluffy. And they have a really nice nutty flavor to them, which I really like. So as usual, if you make these, let me know. I had to make these because they're called chocolate kisses, and they just sounded so fun. There's also a recipe for hazelnut kisses, vanilla kisses, black walnut kisses, and I think maybe one more. But I decided to go with the chocolate ones, and I'm happy I did. These ones, I think, will make the perfect tea time treat, and I know my siblings are going to really love these. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!